Samoa and the Pacific Islands full of culture and pride. Simplicity and lack of money in the islands was always one thing, and the way of life from an outsider was one of pure luxury, being surrounded by tropical climates. Fast forward to the backward thinking and conservatism of the 1950s and booming economy. New Zealand was labelled as the new land of riches, and immigration opened its doors to the Pacific Island nations and Europeans as jobs became more abundant. Many Pacific Islanders, and majority of them being Samoan, left homes for the opportunity of a better life. Some left home in hopes of sending money back for loved ones in need of it. They hopped on planes and headed to the so-called land of milk and honey. This is a brief history of an NZ revolution. Racism and racial discrimination has been around for thousands of years, most notably the US.
I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up, live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will they be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream. My poor little children.
With all the US's problems and them being highly influential global leaders, we can't dispose of our own guilt, our own racist society or discriminative ways. So most Pacific nations set out saying goodbye to loved ones and landed in Auckland, excited about new adventures in living. Many settled in Greyland, Ponsonby, where state housing was more available and later became known as Little Polynesia. Most male Polynesians found themselves in now defunct freezing works, and females in more industrial or cleaning roles. As jobs and economy slowed toward the late 60s and 70s, Polynesians were the ones that found themselves on the chopping block. Now unfairly targeted by immigration enforcement because jobs were scarce, Polynesians only made up 1/3 of the overstaying community. The other 2/3 were Europeans who seemed to be more exempt from these enforcements. So enters the... Whoops, not those ones. These ones, manufactured by this government and enforced by these people. Dawn raids on the homes of alleged overstayers began in 1974. Politicians blamed Pacific Islanders for overloading social services and shaped a negative stereotype of Pacific Islanders. They were mainly conducted at times when everyone was asleep, leaving or getting home from work. The dawn raids were so intrusive that families and children feared local enforcement, and children grew resentful of the system. In came two influential gentlemen, and quite rightfully the leaders in a revolution for Polynesian rights. Though how did one educated man come to organise such a party?
It was the literature of the Black Panther Party in America that we got attracted to the work they were doing in America.
Though NZ is fairly racially diverse now, it hasn't always been. In no way are we perfect today, though we have made small growth toward ethnic minorities, and in all fairness because of revolutionary groups like the Polynesian Panthers.
We're having trouble accepting the Polynesians fast enough, really. You know, we can't educate them, they're not used to our way of life, they don't know the language.
Well, I would say the good old British stock that we've all come from originally.
British people?
Yeah.
Why that?
Because we all belong there, we came from there originally, all our grandparents, such like. Let's keep to our own British stock.
Their headquarters were here in the heart of Ponsonby, 3 Lamps. They took on board the Black Panthers' 10-step program to some degree and adapted accordingly. The name Polynesian didn't just incorporate the Pacific Islands, but also Māori, as they too were being targeted after the dawn raids. They started educating people on their rights and put together a legal aid that was helped written by a young lawyer at the time named David Lange. Random checks were done on the streets asking any person that looked of Polynesian ethnicity for their passports. Even New Zealand Māori fell into the fold. White overstayers seemed to go unnoticed, though once again they outnumbered Polynesians 2-1. They started targeting local watering holes where mainly Polynesians hung out and would at times do raids. It was witnessed by a Samoan police officer during these raids that 3 Pacific Island men rushed out the back door in the commotion carrying their pint glasses. They were legal immigrants but charged with theft for the glasses and sentenced to time in Remo prison. Along with programs for their people, they set up the homework centres from 6 to 8 p.m. in 3 lamps. These were for the children whose parents may not have understood English well enough to help them with their studies. They set up the Saturday bus trips out to the prison where family members were incarcerated and needed the visitational support. Most underprivileged families didn't have cars so couldn't go otherwise. The Panthers also visited people who had no one and needed the strength and support of their people. They continued their support for legal aid, schooling systems, housing, and food grants for Polynesians. They also stood for the apartheid protests of the Springbok tour of 1981, and that may as well have been their last stand. Will was constantly harassed by the police in the special unit they call the Red Squad. His final encounter at the courthouse was when he got off the Springbok charge of organising the riot, another conviction, and they prompted him with,
when I was walking out of the trial, the cops, the Red Squad, and they said, we'll get you fucking irola here. So I knew that I was going to be, they're going to trump up something, so I shot over the Tonga.
That was to be the ending of the Polynesian Panthers and their work. The Panther pride and history still live on, though they may not push the party anymore. The essence of what they began still remains throughout the community. The Panthers played a huge part in the building of the Polynesians and their rights. Though racial discrimination is still relevant in today's society, without the Panther Party in the 70s and 80s, the community would have had a much tougher battle. Polynesians have made gains, though still in some part the poorest, undereducated and most incarcerated in NZ. New Zealand's history is important. All power to the people.